See.
The All-Ireland champions make one dramatic change for this Ulster final. Their winning captain of 08, Brian Dooher, returns to the starting 15 for the first time since last September when he lifted the Sam Maguire. Enda McGinley's hamstring problem forces Tyrone manager Mickey Hart to move last year's Footballer of the Year Sean Kavanagh from full forward to centre field to partner Kevin Hughes. Ranked 25th in the country at the start of the championship, this is the same Antrim team that started against Cavan in the semi-final. Michael McCann is named as Aidan Gallagher's midfield colleague, but he probably will be moved to full forward. Niall McKeever will then go to the middle of the field, with Terry O'Neill operating as Mr. Versatility around his own half-back line. Well, there it is, that's the cup, the Anglo-Cell Cup. Will it be going to Antrim or will it be going to Tyrone? It's David versus Goliath. Let the games begin. And it's Antrim playing against the breeze in the opening half. Tyrone will try, as Mickey Hart mentioned, to settle quickly and deprive Antrim of early possession. That's the first free going towards County Antrim. There's another foul there, as Michael McCann, as we anticipated, would be moved to the edge of the square. And the first and second frees go to Antrim, which is a very good start for the challengers here, and very much the outsiders. Paddy Cunningham. Sometimes he bounces the ball, sometimes he does a little shuffle. There's the shuffle. Here comes the kick. There's the point. The honour falls to Antrim and to Paddy Cunningham to start the scoring here in Clones. There's Ryan McMenamin getting it in for us Martin Penrose, who's had a fabulous Ulster championship. That pass didn't quite work out. Here's Ryan McMenamin taking his points. It's the first. Took almost 5.5 minutes of action here in St. Tiernack's Park to get that score. And it's reflective indeed that it's left corner back Ryan McMenamin that comes into the attack to put his name on the score sheet. Good play by Michael McCann, who's tracked back far as midfield. This is Terry O'Neill spraying the ball over to the far wing. Easily anticipated, however. Philip Jordan is there to provide an option. As Tyrone again build slowly and methodically. Chance of a point. Well taken. Tommy McGuigan.
Great score again, Marty, but again that all came from the full back line. Justin McMahon, Ryan McMahon and PJ Quinn are out in front. They're winning the ball and Antrim are finding it very hard to find their inside forwards. I suppose if you were marking Penrose, O'Neill and Mulligan every night in training too, you'd be well up for it.
Here's Owen Mulligan trying to get by James Lockery. Kevin Hughes, good vision. There's plenty of support. Joe McMahon floats this one in, steps away as if he knows exactly where it's going. Minor All-Ireland medalist back in 2001 as a right half back. His switch to left corner back in the All-Ireland final last year was seen as a masterstroke by his manager. Aidan Gallagher is unable to control it, so it's going to be a sideline ball for Tyrone. Good ball into the path of Stephen O'Neill. Here's Kavanagh going straight through. He is through. Brilliant goal.
Marty, that was a cracking goal, but it looks simple, but you're talking about Dooher, Kavanagh and O'Neill, three of one of the best footballers in the country. You have to work so hard to make it simple. But that ball by Dooher on the outside of his right foot into O'Neill was just magnificent.
Joe McMahon, Brian Dooher, back fires McMahon for the return. He has the chance to score from here for his second point in the Ulster final, and once again McMahon steps away, knowing full well that the white flag is going to be raised. And Liam Bradley is getting a little bit frustrated along the sideline. He feels his defenders and midfielders need to be marking a lot tighter. Tommy McGuigan Here comes the return pass. Tyrone look at times in a different class. Kavanagh going for the point. That's a goal and a point from centre field for Sean Kavanagh.
Marty, that was everything that's perfect about Gaelic football. A 35-40 yard foot pass onto O'Neill. Somebody, Sean Kavanagh, taking it on the run off his shoulder, taking his 4 steps, hopping the ball and slotting it over the bar. Perfection.
Loose ball picked up by Tony Scullion. Feeds it off rather quickly. Gets the return pass. Chance here perhaps for Justin Crozier. And the ball again sails wrong side of the post. 5 wides for Antrim in this opening half.
Tyrone are just on top of their form. They just show their intent so far today that they want to win it again this year, and they will not be happy with just an Ulster title.
Davy Hart. Tommy McGuigan. It looks like All-Ireland champion stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's exhibition stuff. I just hope that Antrim can get back into the game.
Perhaps this time Antrim can provide the initiative and the creativity. Tony Scullion over to Cunningham, and he takes his point. It's Paddy Cunningham's 3rd point of the Ulster final. Chasing after this, Ryan McMiniman. For his own Mulligan, who's operating, it would appear, in the half-forward line. Down for Stephen O'Neill. Well, he's definitely at full forward. Takes a few steps, dispossessed cleanly and fairly. Here's Terry O'Neill, now operating at centre-back, loses possession. Comes back for his own Mulligan. Point on the way. Yes, indeed. It's his 2nd of the match. And out of that 1-9, all of the 1-9 comes from play. And you'd have to say Antrim need to make greater use of that very strong wind that's blowing in their favour. They need to let the ball in long, perhaps. Justin Crozier is wearing 6, but he's been moved to the full forward line. Here's Michael McCann. He's been quite right throughout the game, and Antrim need him to be on fire. And perhaps, just perhaps, might be a little bit forlorn, but it's certainly a ray of hope for Antrim. Anglo-Cell Cup looks like it's heading towards County Tyrone, even at this early stage. Tony Scullion, plenty of Antrim players. Here's James Loughlin. Inside is Paddy Cunningham. Difficult angle for a left foot. Wisely takes his point. 6 points for the Antrim captain.
Yes, it's the first time since the start of the game we've seen a bit of confidence for Antrim. They're starting to believe in themselves, and maybe the whole occasion got to them and they froze. They're saying to themselves at this stage, come on now lads, give it a lash.
Joe McMahon snapping at the loose ball. Enda McGinnelly, Brian Dooher. Great ball. The options, Kevin Hughes or Davy Hart. It's Hart, lays it off to Hughes. Chance of a score. Another white flag. Did I mention a short time ago about the response from the All-Ireland champions? You've just seen it. Ball into space. It's a good one. Kevin Niblock. Through the middle, Michael McCann. Terry O'Neill to his right. Still McCann going for it. Went over the crossbar. For a moment it looked as if it just might dip. But a very impressive, incisive run by the Antrim midfielder. Aidan Gallagher's punch down doesn't quite work out. Davy Hart gathers. Plenty of options here as Tyrone go forward. And the point should be taken, and it is. Sean Kavanagh, goal and 4 points from midfield. $1.14 for Tyrone in this Ulster final, 1.13 from play. Owen Mulligan The reinforcements are landing. Owen Mulligan should have possibly given it to Sean Kavanagh, but he didn't have to, because Mulligan could turn and score his own point. That's 3 points for one Owen Mulligan.
It's another very good score by Tyrone, working the ball in. Sean Kavanagh was on his shoulder at this stage, but he takes his point. I'm just wondering, what's the best position for Sean Kavanagh? Is it full forward or is it midfield? I suppose it's whatever the team wants on a particular day. He's one of the best full forwards, but he's definitely the best midfielder.
And there are 3 Tyrone defenders for this. Didn't quite deal with it as assertively as you'd expect, and as a result, Antrim have it. Tomas McCann on the verge of the large rectangle. Referee has blown his whistle, and it is free, dead straight in front of the post.
There was no way in hell they were going to let him in inside the big square to try and get a chance on a goal. They'll take a yellow card at any time rather than concede a goal.
Yellow card for Enda McGinley. Free is tapped over the bar by Paddy Cunningham. Kick out from John Devine is not a great one. Comes straight for us, Kieran Close. There's a chance here for Niblock underneath the high ball. Gives it back. Comes all the way for us, Paddy Cunningham, and he squeezes it inside the left-hand post. And that's 10 points for Cunningham. And Antrim just get a little bit closer.
Yes, and in fairness to Antrim, they have never given up. They've shown good character. They've hung in there where a lot of teams would have just laid down and died.
Kevin Hughes under a little bit of pressure, wins possession cleanly. Beautiful ball into the path of the running Davy Hart. Colm Kavanagh back for his Davy Hart, I'm sure. Floats one in, and that is over the bar.
Yes, Marty, that's his obligatory point that he nearly gets every game. I suppose the wing backs coming forward in the modern game is done all the time, but he gets scores every time he plays.
And Antrim are very sportingly giving a man who's given sterling service to Antrim, Sean McGreevy, replaces goalkeeper Peter Graham. And you'd have to give credit to the Antrim management for doing this particular, well, honourable thing as such. Down at the other end, Antrim are pursuing goals and perhaps even points as they try and edge that little bit closer. Three minutes of additional time to be added on. McCullough in for his own Mulligan. Point on its way. Fabulous score from Brian McGuigan, and he's nearly on the field.
Yeah, well, when you have subs like that coming on, and they'll all want to do well because they'll want to have a chance of a starting place in the quarterfinals when they come up. But they have a class panel, class subs.
Antrim continue to try up front. One man who's doing all the scoring is Paddy Cunningham. This floats in very, very high. John Devine is underneath it. All he can do is wave at it as Cunningham gets his 11th point in this Ulster final. It's a very impressive performance by the corner forward from Law of Jarrock. And nobody will really want to play Antrim in the qualifiers.
Well, there you go.
It's Antrim for the qualifiers, Tyrone for the Ulster Championship. They win it for the 12th time. A goal after 10 minutes by Sean Kavanagh, who scored a goal and 4 points in this Ulster final. Out of a tally of a goal and 18 points, there was 1:17 from play. And the Tyrone machine move on. Tyrone are Ulster champions on an impressive scoreline of Tyrone 118, Antrim 15 points. Anglo-Celt Cup is the symbol of Ulster Championship success. Here it is. Tom Daly, President of Ulster Council, presenting it to Brian Dooher and Ryan McMenamin. There with him. Tyrone are Ulster champions for the 12th time in their history.
overall, I don't think it was a very good performance. It was a decent performance. At times we played very well, and at times we didn't do so good. And that's not always our own fault. I think you have to hand it to Antrim as well. They came here, they believed in themselves, and they fought to the bitter end. We seemed to be in a good position on several occasions, but we could never really push it on home to be sure of the result until the very end. So Antrim kept the game very much alive, and we certainly have to look at aspects of our game to see can we improve it.
This team doesn't want to play in Tommy Murphy Cups. We want to be in the All-Ireland quarter-final this year against one of the bigger guns, and we'll be looking at the draw this evening, so we will, and hopefully we'll get a favourable draw, so we will whoever meets Antrim, I'll definitely be in for one hell of a game. So the pundits probably back in the studio will say that that Antrim's the team that everybody wants to get. Maybe so, but I can tell you now the team that gets Antrim, I know they're in a game of football next Saturday evening.
That's good. They're well up for it anyway, given they've only 6 days. But and they did well today, Dara. But did you feel Tyrone always had that extra gear?
That was always going to be the case, I thought. They put up a game battle, and there was a moral victory of sorts, I suppose. But Tyrone achieved their stated aim of going through the front door this year. I suppose the one nagging concern they might have is that they weren't tested as much as they'd like to. And it's hard to remember the last time the Tyrone were tested for sustained periods of the game. I think against Armagh there was a passage of play there where they got tested, and they might have got a few questions asked them they might address. Today, very few questions really going forward, and they'll be mindful of the fact the last time they won the Ulster, they were very vulnerable at the quarter-final stage, and Armagh last year as Ulster champions as well were vulnerable, so they'd have liked maybe a few more questions asked of them, but the issue was never in doubt.
Tommy, there's a general question about Ulster football, given that we've seen it as the province in recent years, but it's been...
Look, Tyrone have kind of, you'd have to say, cantered through Ulster this year. I mean, you have to look at the perspective of today's game. We wondered, would Tyrone be right mentally? And to their credit, and to Antrim's credit, because they got ready for them, for the first 20 minutes, Tyrone were very, very, very sharp. I thought they were really hungry for every ball, and they built up a lead, and Antrim were then chasing the game hard. And everyone knows it's very hard to chase a game against Tyrone, and Antrim fought gallantly, but it was always Tyrone's game to lose once they got ahead.
You were talking to me about the versatility of the Tyrone players, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that we can learn about Tyrone and the way they set, the type of players they have, because Joe McMahon is a particular pet subject of mine. He's an unsung hero. He does phenomenal work. He didn't even get a nomination for an All-Star last year. But every good thing this guy does in a game, he does it well. He's always there winning dirty balls, and he's well able to get a score. But it's typical of Tyrone, the way they can ask a player to go. This guy was asked to go back and mark the Twin Towers last year at full back with Justin McMahon, and had a phenomenal game. Again, a few years ago, he went back full back.
And he missed a bit of training before today's game as well.
Absolutely, Darren. Absolutely. Great catch at midfield. On to Brian Dewar. The one thing everybody can learn from Tyrone, as far as I'm concerned, bar no team, including Kerry, is how to have players who are as versatile as Joe McMahon. Play them anywhere. And I think Mickey Hart is, he's one of the great tactical coaches in the game. And I think his ability to get Tyrone up on these days, this is Tyrone, the first while of a game. Look, the tackling started the second half. They need to start this. Antrim were hoping to start. Simple point with Mulligan. The work rate of Tyrone.
But even the versatility shown by Mulligan today, we saw him kicking a point there, but often out the field, which really wouldn't be his area. He was out the field, spreading the ball, doing the simple things well, which is something I'm sure Owen Mulligan himself would prefer to be, used closer to goal. Yeah. But he's well capable of accepting the task and taking it on and doing to the best of his ability, which he did today.
And they've a lot of real quality footballers. That's guys that are comfortable on the ball. You never see them needing 2 or 3 touches. I think Tyrone, whoever beats Tyrone will definitely, I think, win the All-Ireland.
All right, well, speaking of touch, the kick passing, you thought there was a contrast that maybe illustrated the difference between the teams.
Yeah, there was a marked contrast. We all know Tyrone are probably the best kick passers in the game. Here we see evidence of it yet again. Brian Dewhar's quality kick pass to set up Sean Cavan, and even the finish here. But it's the pass that sets it up at the very start. And again, coming out of traffic here, the ball eventually gets back to Brian Dewhar, who laboured at stages today in terms of his running, but I think it was about getting game time for him today. Great quality crossfield ball to Davy Hart, sets up Kevin Hughes for a nice handy score. Gets them out of so many situations, out of traffic. No problem kicking these balls. Sean Cavan had a fantastic game today at midfield, on the run, at pace, nailing it right onto Owen Mulligan's chest. Reaches its target every time. And this is an area where Antrim themselves struggled, particularly early on. I think possibly nerves might have some bit to do with it, but just the kicking here by Niall McKeever, that's a ball to nobody and to no place in particular. And again, ball coming out here. Kicking possibly under pressure. You have to credit Tyrone with the pressure being applied, but again, a ball drifting out over the sideline. And again, here we have Tony Sculling going forward, probably not thinking more than the next move ahead and just getting the ball away. And under pressure, kicks the ball away again. And a lot of teams will do this against Tyrone. It's not just Antrim players will be doing this. Conor Murray here came on the second half, kicked the ball. Mightn't have been a bad ball in Northern section. You can see actually what he was thinking of. But again, the quality of the diagonal kick pass wouldn't be in the same ballpark as Tyrone's kicking.
All right, well, we'll be chatting more about Antrim later on, obviously, with the draw. But Tommy, is there a Tyrone weakness?
Well, you know, Des, you're looking at teams, and certainly if you look at Tyrone, I think one place where they are vulnerable is you can, if you have real pace on your half-forward line, you can burn them. And you know, like they had a lot of bodies back, but nobody could get to the pure pace of that move, which had caught them. And there's another one here in the second half here, where you know, Antrim are just recycling nicely, and now man into space, and they're away again. Tyrone are vulnerable to that. You know, will they be vulnerable on a big day, Dara?
I think we're just doing this to give the pretenders to the throne some chink of light. But realistically speaking, you could envisage a situation where maybe the likes of Cork were really, really pacey and coming from the back, the likes of John Miskell attacking at pace, Pearse O'Neill attacking from the right area of the field, possibly Mayo, who are unpredictable with their runs as well, giving them a bit of bother. Antrim certainly gave them a bit of bother when they ran at them. How tuned in Tyrone were at that stage is another point, but it did cause them a certain amount of bother today.
That's the Cork team who got 5 points in the Munster final.
Well.
Tom, I'm joking, Cork now before they all start ringing into me. Who were the contenders for man of the match, Tommy?
Well, the contenders for man of the match, Des, were certainly Sean Kavanagh, Joe McMahon, and Paddy Cunningham from Antrim. Paddy got 11 points today. Fantastic personal performance by himself. Yeah.
All right, Dara, who gets it?
We gave it to Sean Kavanagh. Of course, Enda McGinley was missing from midfield. Sean Kavanagh has been asked to fulfil a role. He's done loads and loads of times. And I'd say relish the freedom. I'd say love the opportunity to showcase his skills around there. A bit more freedom here. And, you know, we're all aware of his quality on the burst, goals. And, you know, there's a very, very subtle finish for a big man.
His angle on that run, Darren, was
fantastic. But it's just, I think he went out today with the intention of showing the whole country again that he hasn't lost his skills around the middle area. And I think he really enjoyed the game today and played accordingly. Like his points, you know, the familiar shimmy that we saw there. But
will he be moved out of it then the next day?
It's hard. I mean, McGinley is a quality player, and that's the beauty of it from Tyrone's point of view. And I think Tommy was making a point there
about his integrity there, Des. Right? He got kicked that time by an Antrim player. Whether by you know, let's not get into that. But he immediately was up and away. He wasn't rolling on the ground. That time, the other yellow card. I mean, the guy did pull down his hand. You know what I mean? Like he, you know, I just think his integrity as a player as well is something that all young players can aspire to and look up to.
Okay. Well, let's hear then from the big man from Moy, Sean Kavanagh.
Terry Robb, Regional Sales Manager, Ulster Bank, presents the GA Football Championship Man of the Match to Sean Kavanagh.
Well done, Sean. Thank you very much.
Well done, Sean. Congratulations. Very impressive performance by Tyrone today.
I'm not too sure whether you call it impressive, Marty. We got that 5 or 6 point lead maybe earlier on in the game, and no matter how much maybe you try and stay away from complacency, it did set in a wee bit, and we didn't push on and be ruthless the way we had been speaking about and maybe in the papers and trying to talk about in training for the past couple of weeks. And you know, we really know that if it had been maybe Cork or Galway or Kerry or someone out there today, we could be out of the championship at this stage. It's probably a bit of a cliche, but it really was maybe Antrim's day in the sun. They had some fantastic support there today. Really good young team. They're going to give someone a really good game in the back door, but from our point of view, it's mission accomplished. We're in the All-Ireland quarter-finals. We're through the front door. That's where we wanted to be this year after the back door last year. But really know the real tough football is going to start now.
OK, so well done to Sean. Now, before we make the draw for the fourth round of the football qualifiers, and by the way, it's live, there's rumours going all over the country about who's been drawn against